So about a week ago now, the developers over at Treyarch actually released some more patch notes that things that they're changing from the beta of Black Ops 4. Now, most of these things that they're addressing are the major things. Some of them include Seraph spawn beacons, other include the minimap, but the biggest of all was of course body armor. And that's just something that I've talked about in various videos, but never really talked about on its own. So today, we need to talk about body armor. Now, of course, we're going to talk about some of the other changes as well later on in the video, but the vast majority of this video is going to be speaking about body armor, how it started out in the beta, how it's changing going into the full release of the game, and some of the other things that they added in these patch notes and mentioned of things that actually might be changing involving body armor in the coming future. So as you guys know 100% by now, I'm completely against body armor. I want it out of the game. I find it frustrating, annoying. I've said before that I don't think it's necessarily overpowered. I simply think it's annoying and doesn't have a spot in the game. But based off of the patch notes that they put out revolving around the beta, body armor isn't going anywhere. It's in the game and it's there to stay. However, they are willing to tweak and change the body armor. Now, before we actually get into talking about what they're willing to change and what they are going to be changing, I first just wanted to say a message to Treyarch. Please just consider removing it from the game. It's one of those things that as of right now is really pissing off the community. If you show good faith and simply take it out, I think a lot of people would praise that decision, whereas right now you're kind of just fumbling the ball over and over again, trying to get something right when the right solution is just throwing the ball out of the stadium to begin with. So I'm not going to talk about everything in these patch notes because Treyarch actually wrote quite a bit, so I'll link to it down in the description, but I would just like to gloss over the most important parts. So the first thing, as far as body armor that Treyarch talks about, is their vision for it. So as they're talking about the various different pieces of gear, the acoustic sensor allows you to hear footsteps better. They talk about the ComSec device pushing for bigger score streaks. They go on to say the stim shot has been the most used piece of gear. That's kind of obvious as it helps you stay alive more frequently. But then their description of body armor is this. And if you're a more cautious player who likes to push and pull of objective play, body armor should be optimal for that. Now, really, I don't quite understand what that statement means. If you are a player who likes the push and pull of objective play, body armor is good for you. I don't know what they mean by push and pull of objective play, but what I can take away from that is what they're saying is if you are a more cautious player who likes sitting back, maybe even camping a little bit, body armor is the perk or gear for you because what it's going to do is allow you to take more shots. And if you play more cautiously, that's gonna be good for you, I guess. I don't know. I don't really fully understand their description of it, but that's how they see body armor being a part of the game. But then they go on to explain some of the changes that they have made and are going to continue making to body armor. The first of which, and as they say it, explosives should shred armor. That was not working in the beta, and we are fixing that. So basically, explosives did not deal damage through body armor, and they're fixing that. Basically, body armor was a really good version of Flak Jacket, and that will not be like that at all in the final release of the game. So that's good. They're nerfing it a little bit in that sense. The second thing, they say damage is now reduced by armor rather than being completely deflected by it. So this is actually something that they changed in the second weekend of the beta. And what they did is, in the first weekend of the beta, basically all body armor did was the first bullet that you shoot your enemy with doesn't do any damage to them. Now what it does is the first bullet that you shoot an enemy with does less damage to them. I believe it is still only the first bullet that it actually changes. Now, the problem with this is it still adds almost a bullet of health to the enemy you're shooting at. Now, it does depend on what gun you're using, but for the most part, it still is basically going to add an extra bullet to kill, just not for every gun. That's the main difference between Weekend 1 and Weekend 2. And I think that this is a somewhat good fix, but it still doesn't make it any less annoying. And the reason why I believe, personally, that body armor is a little bit more annoying than it should be is simply because it adds inconsistency to the game. You can get into a gunfight with 3 people in a row with the same weapon, and every single time you get in the gunfight, they die in 5 bullets. All of a sudden, you get into a gunfight with someone using body armor, it takes 6 bullets, and you don't kill them, they kill you, and you just get frustrated. It's inconsistent, it's annoying. Any inconsistency in video games, as far as weapons go, in my opinion, is not a good thing. For example, the biggest game going on right now is Fortnite, and one of the biggest complaints going on with Fortnite is the inconsistency of the shotguns. How when you're using a shotgun, sometimes you shoot someone and it deals 9 damage, and other times you shoot someone with them and it feels like it deals like 65 damage. And that inconsistency really does bother a lot of people, and I've heard people say that they've stopped playing the game because of that inconsistency. It's annoying. People don't like it. Things should be consistent in video games. If you play the same way every time, things should do the same thing. Now, the next point that they made simply just doesn't make any sense to me, and honestly, one of the reasons why I wanted to make this video is because maybe some of you could clarify this point for me down in the comments, but I'll show it on screen here and I'll read it to you. So, some of the player feedback from the game when fighting against a player with armor was cranked to 11 and made it feel a lot worse than it actually was. So we're reducing it to feel less annoying. So what I take away from this, and I don't actually know if this is what they mean, but basically I think what they're saying is the noise that it makes when you shoot someone with body armor is too loud. So what they're going to do is reduce that noise to make it less annoying. In my opinion, this is the exact opposite thing of what they should do. Basically, that noise was there to let you know that you are getting in a gunfight with someone who has more health than you. You have to be careful. That's why that noise was there. By making it less loud, making it less visible, it makes it so that it's even more confusing when you die to someone and you feel like you should kill them. What I want is I want to know simply by looking at someone very clearly, I don't have to second guess myself whether or not they are wearing body armor. That way I know if I have to hit an extra bullet or not. So instead of making it less visible, less annoying when someone is using body armor, I think you should make it more annoying. You should make them glow red for all I care. That way at least I know when I get in a gunfight with that person, they have a longer time to kill than everyone else I'm playing against. But who knows, that sentence could mean something else altogether, I'm not really sure, but really that's what I took away from it. The next point, and something that they did change going into weekend 2, is we added an extra plus 25 bonus score rewarded to every kill against a player with body armor to help your score streak meter. So basically, they thought it was so annoying that when you killed someone, you should get extra score, because good for you. So that's what they added. I do think that's actually a pretty good change. It actually is detrimental to your team a little bit if you are using body armor because the other team can get score streaks faster. So I think that's an actually pretty decent fix. So then at the end of the section where they talk about body armor, they also said this: we are also experimenting with a number of ideas to better support its role while also making it less appealing to highly aggressive players. For example, impacting certain aspects of movement speed or protection coverage areas. In other words, if you're using body armor, you'll be heavier and move slower. That makes a lot of sense. And also make the protection coverage area different. So for example, it would only block damage to the chest and abdomen and wouldn't block damage to the legs and arms. Again, that would make sense. But then if you see someone using body armor, all of a sudden you have to aim for the legs and arms, I think that would be kind of annoying. But my real question for Treyarch is this: if you're going through all this trouble in nerfing body armor, you're making it so the person who kills someone with body armor gets extra points, you're making it so the person with body armor moves slower, why not just stop wasting your time and just get rid of body armor? Clearly, you don't want anyone to use it because you're nerfing it so hard, so just get rid of it and then no one can use it, and you won't waste all of this development time trying to get it right. I don't know why Treyarch is so heavy set on keeping it in the game. I think it's just annoying and doesn't have a place for it. In fact, if you go back through the history of Call of Duty, they've had other perks like this. They had Juggernaut. It's no longer in Call of Duty. They had Painkiller, where if you died 3 or 4 times in a row, you'd then spawn in with 3 times the health. That is definitely not in a Call of Duty game anymore. The reason being, when you're running from gunfight to gunfight in a fast pace like Call of Duty is, and then all of a sudden it's a longer gunfight because one random player has a whole bunch of extra health, it's annoying. There's a reason why it's been removed from Call of Duty games, and if you ask me, Treyarch, you are just wasting your time fiddle fucking around with this piece of gear. But hey, That's just my opinion. Another big problem I have with it is in Call of Duty, I actually play a lot of Search and Destroy, and you're at a huge disadvantage in Search and Destroy if you're not using body armor, because every single round you spawn in with body armor. It's going to help you in your first gunfight every single time, and you don't really need to use stim in Search and Destroy because you're generally speaking not getting into gunfight after gunfight after gunfight, so there's no need for it. So body armor is just ridiculously good, and everyone pretty much has to use it. It's a crutch, if you ask me. So that's another reason why I really don't like body armor. But the other two things that they changed is, once again, they nerfed the tac deployment. They made it more visible when someone kills you when using a tac deployment. You can now see that they spawned in on a tac deployment in their kill cam. So that's all good. They've nerfed that. I've talked about that in a previous video as well. And the other thing is the mini-map. So before, with the Fog of War, basically every player revealed a circular area around them, about an 8-meter radius. So if there was an enemy standing behind you, he'd actually show up on the mini-map. Now it is not like that anymore. It is simply like a cone. So in other words, if someone is in your field of view, then they will appear on the mini-map. I think that's perfect. I think they nailed it. That's perfect. That's a really good change. The thing that's not so good is body armor. Just get rid of it. Gone. See you later. Sayonara. But hey, that's my opinion, and I want to hear what you guys think. I want to hear whether you like body armor, whether you hate it, whether you think there's no place for it in the game, how you change it. Let me know what you think down in the comments. I'm going to be reading all of the comments, and I'm actually really, really curious what you guys have to say about this one. So like I said, let me know what you think down in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, I would really appreciate it if you could hit that like button. And if you're new to the channel and you want to stay up to date on all my Black Ops 4 content, the best way to do so is hit that subscribe button and turn the notifications on. But guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, peace out.
We are reaching for the stars, but we're making this too hard.